Hello and welcome to episode number 30. Um, I will record this for the podcast too. So again, welcome to episode number 30. The dog and the leash. So this is a bigger topic. This will be a longer episode, and I have some notes because I cannot remember everything I want to talk about today. If you have any questions, please use the chat and let's start. So, the dog and the leash. Um, there is so much to say about that. I don't know where to start. But I think we are talking about dogs and people who are connected by a leash, by a band. And this normally sounds nice. So we all hope that we as human with our animals, our dogs, have a strong relationship, a strong band. But for many, it isn't, especially the lead topic. And there are so many reasons for this, as there are people and dogs. And that brings us right to the start. There are countless training courses, tips, videos, books, and methods designed to help you get your dog to obey on the leash. To obey sounds a bit mean, but that's how it is in the end. We make the dog obedient so that it walks nicely on the leash and doesn't do what it wants. It shall do what we want. And of course, this makes sense and is not bad at all, unless you ask the dog. If all the methods and tips would work, all the dogs would walk nicely on the leash. But they don't. Some do, some more, some less, and some not at all. And there are as many different reasons for this as there are individuals. So today I deal with breeds, epigenetics, human design, personalities, behavioral problems, origin, socialization, and accessoires. And of course, I also offer a few tips for solving problems. So you see, this is not it's not an easy topic. We cannot only say, oh, the dog pulls on the lead. So first look at the breeds. Not all dogs are the same. There are dogs that are bred and born to pull. Take the husky, for example. This dog pulls. That is its job. Many hunting dogs pull when they want to do their job. These dogs need appropriate training, suitable harnesses, and above all, appropriate exercise if they are to be kept as family dogs. They must be able to perform their tasks, otherwise, frustration is inevitable. Um, let's look at epigenetics. It's a big topic, and I will first explain what it is and how it works. What is it and why is it important? Epigenetics explains the influence of environmental factors on cell properties and the activity status of genes, thus describing possible mechanism of action at the cellular level. Traumatic events and other experiences leave traces in our genetic material in the form of epigenetic changes. These do not affect the genetic material itself, but rather the activity of genes. And as an example, I have a little story for you. When I have a perfect female dog with no health or behavioral problems, and I now have found an equal perfect male dog, the puppies must be perfect. That's what we always thought with genes. Huh? If the genes are perfect, everything else is perfect because every information is in the genes. So I travel with my bitch to this male dog, but he is very far away and I have to take the airplane. The time window is tight, but it's all worth it. There are already orders for the puppies. The male dog is chilled, lying on his sofa. The female dog is extremely stressed. She senses a human's tension and finds the aeroplane horrendous. From the airport, they go to the male dog, and that's it. Now the puppies are born. And after a while, the humans realize that the puppies are not so perfect at all. They are extremely fearful and stressed, and some even display fear aggressive behavior. What has happened? The female dog was so stressed that her fear was transferred to the puppies. It also works the other way around. Stress can be transferred from the male dog to the puppies, or even from both parents. And this can even happen across generations. Why is this important? You buy a dog from a breeder. The breeder is renowned, well known, and successful. And yet, it can still happen that the dog is not what you expected. But epigenetics is not just about heredity. It is assumed that the first 100 days form the basis for the animal's behavior at the cellular level. This means that genetically everything is fine, but the first 100 days of your future pet's life somehow go wrong. Fear, hunger, stress, and panic shape your pet's early life. This is not only influences its behavior, but also its genes. Research has now progressed to the point where the success of a living being is measured not only by genes, but also by epigenetics. It is possible that I breed the best show jumper in the world, genetically, but if something goes wrong in epigenetics, the horse will not jump at all. Now you can adopt a dog from the shelter. The dog next door already has a history. Perhaps this is not noticeable at the shelter because the dog was not triggered there. But suddenly there is something in your home that triggers its behavior, a smell, a noise, something in its environment that was not present at the shelter. And suddenly the dog reacts. Then it's time to find out what's bothering your dog. The good news is that epigenetically inherited traumas can be resolved. Another option, you adopt a dog from abroad. Now, there are many factors to consider: socialization, epigenetics, experiences, trauma. We've already covered epigenetics. I think it's quite clear what an influence the first 100 days have on a dog's life and how they shape it. Now, your dog grew up in an area where it was free. It doesn't have to be a street dog, just a stray or a stray domestic dog. In the East or South, people don't walk their dogs. They open the door, the dogs are out all day and come home in the evening. Free, self determined, social, independent, self reliant. These dogs have been living there like this for generations. Now they are being caught, which is very traumatic itself. They are locked up. Then they are transported to their new families. Now they live in confinement and are expected to walk on a leash. And that's when and where their owners want them to. Contact with others is prevented because the dog is so fearful. If you're now thinking, I will just adopt a puppy, then please take another look at this section on epigenetics. Unfortunately, you haven't understood it yet. Puppies from foreign animal welfare organizations are just the same. They are free, social, and independent. That is their basic attitude in their genes. And here everything is different. There is no longer any independent self determination and freedom. And now this dog is making a fuss on the leash, which is understandable because this dog is overwhelmed and frustrated. Fear is just the basis. Aggression is the reaction to external environment influences. Point number 3, human design. If you feel like it, you can have your dog's human design created. However, I think your human design is much more important. What is human design? In short, the human design system deals with the personality structure and basic energetic makeup of every human being. You can also have your astrological chart created or do a personality analysis. Why? The dog is rarely the problem alone. We humans are conditioned. From an early age, we are taught how to function, what to do, and what not to do. And there is little room for individual needs. Most people I know function quite well at some point, but they feel miserable and, above all, they no longer know who they really are. They have hidden and denied their true identity for so long that they no longer know who they are, and that causes stress, insecurity, and fear. We often only know that we are dissatisfied, but not exactly why. Well, here that's the reason. We have learned to function and ignore our true selves. Our needs are disregarded and our abilities wither away. Now you share your life with an animal. Animals, like all living creatures, communicate through feelings. We share our feelings. Animals are true masters at perceiving our feelings. Now you are constantly stressed. This triggers stress in your dog. Your dog's stress, in turn, stresses out you. It's a vicious circle. When living with our animals, it is fundamentally important to know ourselves, our needs and abilities, how we resolve conflicts or deal with obstacles. Am I more of a gut person or a head person? In our society, all this is evaluated as better or worse, and grades are given. And that is dangerous because then I forget how to use my true ability to overcome problems. Now your dog is afraid or stressed and pulls on the leash, barks and rages, and you have learned methods for dealing with your dog or with your stress, but that may not help you at all because it is not your method, the method for your personality. Personalities at all. Point four. There are dogs like this and dogs like that. There are hunting dogs that don't hunt, huskies that don't pull, and border collies that do not hurt. Just like your own personality, your dog also has its own personality. And it is very helpful to know this. That's half the battle. If you want to prevent problems or solve problems, look at your dog. Who is he? What does he need? Or she? Above all, dogs are not babies. Sometimes I get the impression we are in a kindergarten or at Walt Disney. They want to play, he just wants to say hello. In most cases, this play is a test of strength to see who has authority over whom. It's not playing, it's chasing and fighting, and that can rarely backfire. It is said that our domesticated dogs are on the level of a 4-year-old child. But that does not mean that your dog is a child and wants to be treated as such. Is your dog also highly sensitive or a pack leader? That exists. Then it hears and smells things long before you even suspect that something might be there. Your dog perceives its surroundings much more intensely anyway. So keep your hands off your mobile phone when you're out and about. A lead dog wants to do its job. It wants to lead and protect. Another dog wants to be led and protected. You leave it there at the front all alone to somehow cope with everything that comes its way. There are people, children, other dogs, and your dog has to figure out how to deal with it. Of course, with all the stress, it will eventually overreact. If you now have a dog that was unused to making its own decisions, it will be one thing above all else when on the leash, frustrated. This dog wants to keep an eye on its surroundings or safety reasons alone. This dog wants to control encounters. This has nothing to do with greeting. Dogs are territorial animals. Family ties are very important to them, defending their territory, maintaining control. If your dog has this in its genes and was perhaps able to live this way where it came from, then it will not be happy on a leash. And encounter with other dogs on a leash are only stressful for this dog. Behavioral problems. Pulling, barking, biting, fear, stress, aggression. All of this has a cause. For rescue dogs, it is often trauma or captivity. For the dog from next door, it is usually a bad experience, incorrect socialization, or no socialization at all, and or incorrect training. All of this can be managed, but it takes time. You need time and patience, and even more patience. And the right trainer with the right method for the dog human team. There is no one size fits all solution that works for everyone. Aggression behavior is always a reaction to a trigger. This can be pain, fear, and insecurity, but also frustration. Aggression never comes alone. Point six, origin and socialization. I've already touched on this. Where does the dog come from? what it has it experienced before and how has the dog lived? It's good to know this so that you can better assess how to help the dog. Ultimately, it's about supporting him. I said in the beginning that we make dogs obedient. And in many training programs and methods, that is unfortunately the case when we use pressure, pain, or even force. But there is another way. We can also teach the dog to walk on a leash peacefully. Ultimately, the leash is there to protect us. Many dogs do not understand this immediately. They see the leash as a torture. How do you feel about the leash? This is just as important. If you yourself detest leashes and see them as instrument of torture, it will be difficult to make the leash appealing to your dog. But perhaps the image of a heart-to-heart connection will help you. You are connected by a bond, and this bond protects you. Tools and accessoires. One last important look at what's available: collars, leash harness, and halties. A collar is always good, preferably with a tag. A harness is ideal for outdoor use. It is more comfortable for the dog, reduces the risk of injury to the cervical vertebrae, and makes it easier to hold the dog. Very important, buy a harness that fits your dog and not one you just like. It is the best to go to an osteopath or physiotherapist to get advice. Not every harness fits every dog, and many harnesses do not fit any dog at all. It's like us going hiking in the wrong shoes with the wrong rucksack. Trailing leashes should not be dragged along the ground. They should be held in your hand. Flexi leads aren't bad, but you have to know how to use them. If in doubt, have a short leash with you so you can swap them out when things get tight. My little Callisto is missing a front tooth, a leg, and he has his own pace, and we get along best with the flexi lead. However, he's also very easy to walk on lead. Halties are kind of a muscle with a lead attached. They are supposed to prevent the dog from pulling because you can control it by pulling on its head. These things should actually be banned in public. They are an aid, a tool that experienced trainers and trained owners can work with, but it's never the solution for a dog that pulls. Instead, buy a harness that has a ring for the leash at the front, in front of the chest. Halties can cause serious damage to the back, cervical vertebrae, front body, and head. Furthermore, these items are not suitable for good training or strengthening the relationship and trust. The same applies to choke collars and prong collars. These are really instruments of torture that do nothing to improve the dog's behavior. On the contrary, they make it worse. If your dog is frustrated and angry and now cannot breathe or is in pain, it will only become more aggressive. These devices can also work wonder in the hands of a professional trainer who knows what they are doing, but please do not consider them as a simple solution. And that brings us back to commitment. Good training takes time and patience. And perhaps you have already realized that a dog that has problems with a leash often has more than one problem. Things usually develop and then often not for the better. The dog is stressed, then perhaps it has the wrong equipment and the wrong training. The stress increases, the frustration increases, and at some point the damage is done, and no one wants to know exactly why. Now you know. That was a lot of information. I know. That's why you can read all of this again. I have this in a blog, and I will put the link in the description to the blog so you can read it, or you listen or watch the video again. Let's come to the most important part. What can you do? So, my job is to help you as a trust technique practitioner. I'm a certified trust technique practitioner, and I work with this method. Since the beginning of this year, I have also been part of the Pioneer program. James French, the founder of the trust technique, has selected 20 practitioners from over 100 worldwide for his personal Pioneer program. This involves working with difficult cases, animals suffering from extreme stress, trauma, working with people in groups, and with people in individual sessions. So actually, a trust technique practitioner is only allowed to teach people one-on-one and not in groups. And in the Pioneer program, we are also going to work with groups. My current focus is on working with animals that are considered helpless or untreatable, the broken ones. The trust technique is an ideal method for optimizing the relationship between humans and animals. It helps animals to learn calmly and gain new experiences. Does it take time and commitment? Yes, of course. But so does any other good training too. So why the trust technique? Because it also helps you as a human being to get to know yourself better and to be able to act calmly in critical situations. In addition to the aspect of calmness, there is now also the aspect of training. What if you could not only walk your dog relaxed on a leash, but you could also communicate without words? Your dog no longer feels the need to run after another dog or rabbit. Trust technique is all about cooperation and communication without any stress or pressure. And because it's not just about your pet, but also about you, I have the Magic Mindful Mystery program for you. What do you think when you have to go outside with your dog? What do you feel when you know that in half an hour it's time for the next walk? Stress, panic, uncertainty. And your dog? He senses it. He hears and feels you. He feels your stress, but doesn't know what's going on. The likelihood of you having a relaxed walk now is very unlikely, and that's not just because of your dog. One could say that you manifested this unconsciously, but you could also simply say that you are afraid and your dog has taken on that fear. 30 minutes before the walk, you were not present. You were already outside in your head with your thoughts and feelings, thinking about everything that could go wrong, and behold, it goes wrong. In the Magic Mindful Mastery program, you learn how to become aware of your thoughts and how to use your thoughts to create the best possible outcome for you and your dog. And the best part is, it's not just about your dog. You can apply this method anytime, anywhere in your life, whether for your job, your family, your relationship, or your finances. Dr. Wayne Dyer once said, "We cannot control what's outside of us, but we can control what's inside of us." And according to the law of attraction, this gives us the opportunity to create that we want and need. Self empowerment through self awareness and personal responsibility. You will find a link about the program and myself below in the description to this video or podcast. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you a wonderful day wherever you are. Bye.